like, oh my gosh, like, you know, why such a huge jump, you know?
When Joel Lynch first moved into his Hampton apartment 3 years ago, the rent was $1,950. The next year, $2,100. This year, he's being asked to pay $2,700.
It's just unfair to ask that amount, you know, just at, you know, one lump sum and one fell swoop.
Tenants across Connecticut agree with Lynch. They've started a campaign asking the state legislature to pass a bill that would cap annual rent increases at 4% plus inflation.
Us speaking out is saying our voice is more valuable than what the market is saying.
The I-Team wanted to know what other cities and towns have some form of rent caps or rent control. In New England, that's Portland, Maine, where 2 years ago, voters passed a rent control referendum.
Which means that every unit gets a base rent. Whatever you were renting January 1, 2020 is what the base rent is.
Jack O'Brien helped organize the campaign. That base rent he mentioned can never go up more than 10%. O'Brien says it's working.
I think that Portland has a much, much lower rate of rent increase and tenant turnover than all of the surrounding communities, so that's a huge win.
But right now, even when the tenants turn over, the maximum increase allowed is 5%. Something Britt Vitalius of the Rental Housing Alliance of Southern Maine is trying to get changed with his own referendum.
If those tenants leave on their own, there's no reason why then the landlord should not be able to go and charge market rent.
Vitalius says he thinks there should be something protecting tenants from crazy rent increases, but Portland's rent control laws are too restrictive.
We are seeing some deliberation by some of the neighboring towns about caps on the increases for existing tenants.
If you have a stable home, that leads to other good outcomes.
State Senator James Manning Jr. represents the state of Oregon, the first state to pass rent control. In 2019, Oregon lawmakers decided landlords cannot raise the rent more than 7% plus inflation annually. Inflation is calculated using the Consumer Price Index. For example, the increase in 2023 is 14%.
Prevent those hedge funders that are really going through and pricing people out of their homes.
One downside, landlords increased rent immediately before the bill went into effect. But the other downside, Manning said landlords predicted, less construction, hasn't happened.
Nobody's left the state. The inventory is starting to increase.
Bob DeCosmo represents landlords in Connecticut. He says there should be no cap here.
When you start talking about property taxes going up, 70%, there's no cap on the operating expenses. You're just going to drive capital out of the market.
Joel Lynch and other tenants just don't want to be priced out of their homes.
And just be fair. That's all we're asking, be fair.